Zakuti chicken is a Portuguese influenced dish and it comes from the Goan region in India. It's a really fragrant dish and it's a really lovely excuse to use loads of spices. The first thing we're going to do is get our chicken prepped, and I've got here about 8 pieces of chicken, and this will be enough for 4 people. And the first thing I'm going to do is just start a little bit of marinating going on with a teaspoon of turmeric going into that, and a teaspoon of salt, but you can use salt to taste really. I like to use the chicken on the bone, but if you don't want to do that, by all means just use thigh meat really would be really good for this. So just give it all a stir through, get it all covered in the turmeric, and that just sort of helps the cooking process start. There we go. I'm going to leave that for about 20 minutes and I'm just going to leave it out on the side. So that's just going to sit there while we get onto the fun and exciting bit. So I've got a little saucepan here, a little frying pan, that I'm going to get all of my spices ready in. The first thing that I'm going to use is some coconut, and I've just got desiccated coconut here, but it's really nice to use fresh coconut as well. So I'm just being a bit lazy, I guess, but I'm just going to pop that straight in and I'm going to toast that. And we just want that to go a lovely sort of goldeny brown colour, and this will take a good few minutes, but keep it moving. If you stop or if you don't move it around enough, there is a tendency that it'll catch, so just keep it moving. And you can start to smell the oils and the coconut flavours coming through. And this is a really lovely dish because it uses all of those key ingredients from the south, so coconuts, tamarind, some really lovely fragrant spices, and I'll talk you through all of those in a minute, but keep that moving for a few minutes. So it's starting to brown beautifully. If you feel that it's catching a little bit too much, just take it off and let the pan cool down. So just take it off the heat, but just keep it moving. But you can really smell the coconut coming through, which is wonderful. I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm just gonna pop that into just a dish so that it can cool down. And now we're going to move on to the spices, which is all the fun bit, if you like. So the key spices in this dish are Kashmiri chilies, and these little dried chilies here, although they look lethal, are actually fairly mild. They're not too hot, but we are going to be using a lot of them, so it is a fairly spicy dish. So we're going to be using 8 of these. Just take the stems off and just break them up. Now these are really good for colour. They give a really vibrant red depth to the dish, so they are my chilli of choice, so if you can get hold of them. So that's my chilies in there. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of coriander seeds, 5 or 6 centimetres of cassia bark, a nice teaspoon of black peppercorns. I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 cloves, a teaspoon of fennel seeds for some aniseedy flavours, and I'm going to put in 2 star anise, which again have that really lovely gentle aniseedy flavour, and then a teaspoon of cumin seeds as well. Now I know it feels like an awful lot of spices, but if you enjoy cooking and if you enjoy Indian food, this is a really lovely dish to do because it means you get to play around with stuff that you wouldn't use necessarily all the time. So all I'm doing is I'm just toasting them off, just giving them a slightly roasted flavour so that their natural oils and aromatics start to come out. So when they're almost ready, you'll know because you'll start to get the perfume, you'll start to get the aromatics oozing from them, and you'll start to fragrance your kitchen with all of those wonderful smells. So what I'm going to do now is add the other spice that's really quite key for this dish, and that's white poppy seeds. These are used an awful lot in South Indian cooking, and it's probably, I've got a heaped tablespoon in there. Again, I'm going to just toast those just for a few minutes, and they act almost like a thickening agent when they're ground, but they have a nutty texture as well. So look at all those lovely colours, spices. So that's all you need to do. just a few minutes, and what I'm going to do is just pop that into another bowl because I don't want them to sit in the pan because the pan's hot and we don't want them to burn. So I'm just going to pop them into there, and you can see the steam coming off, and give them a little shake and just leave them to cool just for a few minutes. I'm just going to pop them into a grinder, and because we've toasted them, it's fine to use a grinder because they're warm through anyway. So just pop all of those in there. Literally just give them a blast to turn them into a lovely fine powder. And that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm after. A really nice, fine powder. I'm going to pop that to one side with the coconut that has been sat in here. I've got 6 cloves of garlic here. I know it sounds like a lot, but this is quite a fragrant dish, so I'm just going to pop those in. Just want that to turn into a lovely mush. And what we're looking for with all of this is we want to get a really nice spice paste. So I'm going to put my spices and my coconut back into my grinder, and I'm going to add a little bit of water just to help loosen that up and make it into more of a paste. Start to heat your pan up with a little splash of oil in there. I'm going to pop in some onions that I've sliced up already, nice and finely sliced, so I'm using 2 of those. Give them a stir, and we want those to cook till they're a nice golden brown, and that'll take about 10 or 15 minutes. So into that, I'm going to put this wonderful, fragrant, delicious coconut and spice paste. I've turned my heat up just so that I can get a little bit of heat to it so that it can start to cook through. So just give that a stir through, and all you're looking for is the garlic, the raw flavours from the garlic to start to cook through, the coconut, the spices, everything to sort of blend together and make a really wonderful fragrant paste. I'm just going to go and get my chicken so that I'm ready to pop that in as well, and that's been sat for about 20 minutes. So I'm just coating the meat with all of those spices, the coconut and the paste, so that it all gets coated and it starts to infuse its lovely flavour in there. All I'm going to do now is turn the heat right down to a very low heat, pop your lid on the pan and leave that to cook for 25 to 30 minutes. The chicken's been cooking away for half an hour, so we're going to have a quick look, and I can see that it's ready. I can smell that it's pretty much ready, but you can see the chicken's starting to just come away, which is looking really good. And the final few flavourings that we're going to add into this are tamarind. So I've got tamarind here that has been soaking in hot water. I just pour that in, and what that will do is it will give the dish a really lovely tang, almost like a fruity tang. Not as harsh as lemon juice, but a really nice fruity lift to the dish. The final thing I'm going to put in is some freshly grated nutmeg, and again, very much a South Indian flavour. With this dish, what it'll do is it just brings all of those wonderful sort of aniseedy flavours from the other spices that we've added to the forefront. So give that all a stir through, and you can see that we've started to get a really nice gravy that's just clinging to all of that meat. If, like me, you like things with a little bit more of a kick, here's a really easy way to just spice it up a little bit. What I've got here are some little red chilies, and you can do this with little bird's eye chilies if you really want to give your friends a bit of a scare. Just pop those straight in, and all we're going to do is just toast them off in a bit of hot oil just for a minute or two, just get them sizzling. And I'm just going to pour that, a little bit of coriander. This works beautifully with rice, so just some plain basmati rice will finish this meal off really, really well. Lots of flavours, and it's got lots of texture as well, so it's something that I think is really unique and something that's going to be enjoyed by loads of people. For more South Indian dishes such as lemon rice and Goan fish curry, tap the i to see the recipes and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.